another man waters.
One man plants, another man waters, but the Lord, He gives the
One man
increase.
plants, another man waters.
But another man waters, but the Lord, He gives the increase.
Hello, and again, thank you for joining us at our broadcast, The Thelordsbeenkind. And here at The Thelordsbeenkind, we present you the Word of God, line upon line, and precept upon precept, hoping that there be a word or some message that will help you in your walk towards salvation. I'm Brother Jediah. I'll be teaching for you today. Today we have Brother Armand. He'll be doing the reading for us today. And our class that we're going to deal with today is speaking in tongues, understanding the method. Now, you got two spectrums of speaking in tongues. And you got one spectrum where people feel like they speaking in tongues and they jibber jabber, I done been in churches and they had speaking in tongues sessions. And today what we're gonna do, we're gonna learn that you can be no closer to the truth when you deal with that type of church doctrine. Then what we're gonna really learn today though is what actually speaking in tongue is. We're gonna go through the scriptures and we're gonna see in the book of Acts when these people spoke in tongue that they began to speak the word of God. We're gonna get a little history behind speaking in tongue as well. So without further ado, we're gonna pick this up in Genesis chapter 11. And the reason I like to start this class in Genesis 11 is because, as many people know, this is the story of the Tower of Babel. And what we're gonna learn when we start going through the Tower of Babel is we're gonna see where the tongues got divided. So we're going to start this off at Genesis chapter 11. And yes, this does have something to do with what we're going to read in Acts chapter 2 when we start reading about, the day of Pentecost and when everybody starts speaking in tongues. This has so much to do with it, because what we're going to find out is back then, these people's tongues was divided according to God's will, how He decided He was going to separate man. And we're going to find out a little bit here. So pick this up in Genesis chapter 11 and start at verse 1.
And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
So coming off the boat, Noah coming off the boat, and him and his 3 sons remultiplied the whole earth. And at this time, they all spoke one language, one tongue. So he said the whole earth was of one language and one speech. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar.
Go ahead.
And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad the face of the whole earth.
All right, so you got man at this time, and they're like, look, we're going to build this tower. We're gonna build something that take us all the way to the heavens. And man been dealing with witty inventions really since man figured out they can invent something. So this time they dealing with the Tower of Babel. And let's see what happened. Verse 5, go ahead.
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language.
So we see here it said that the Lord is showing you that all these people had one language at this particular time. Go ahead, let's see what happens.
And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
So even though we're dealing with the top of the speaking in tongue, but in this chapter, the Lord is showing us like it's nothing that whatever man imagined to do, if they want, they're going to be able to do it. And if you pay any attention to what's going on in the world, like we becoming one. Like you can get on the internet now and you can talk to people from Switzerland and Germany. You can talk all over the world with one tongue. And if you also notice, whatever we desiring to do, and I'm sure we got planes that fly higher than the Tower of Babel did at that time. We got cell phones. We just done took it to a whole nother platform. And that's why the Lord going to destroy this place. But keep reading though.
Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
So right here the Lord like, well, if man keep at this point, they're going to destroy themselves, really. So he's like, we're going to go down here and we're going to divide these languages up. And this is really where we get the origin of like the whole tongue. Why we're going to see them speaking in tongue. Go ahead, keep reading.
So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did confound their language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face
All
of
right,
the
now let's go back a chapter because I'm gonna show you, and this was done. Genesis 10 is like when we start. We're gonna go to Genesis 10 and we're gonna start at verse 1. And when we get at Genesis 10, this is like the story of Noah and his kids. Now, what we read in 11 was what really happened with these kids. But we're gonna show you when they break down these kids, we're gonna show that these people was divided according to something. So Genesis chapter 10 and pick it up at verse 1. And when you get there, go ahead and read.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Now with these three people, everybody who exists to this day, these are the. See, if you go before him, we can read of some people who descendants not here, like Cain and Abel, for example. We don't see their descendants here, but we do see the descendants of Seth, which run you down to Noah, and from Noah you got Japheth, Ham, and Shem. Okay, so go ahead and pick this up at verse 2.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshesh, and Tyrus.
Now, all these nations right here, we can actually take a historical type of map and pinpoint these European and Asian nations, each one of these. But let's skip down to verse 5 so we can get more to our point. Go ahead.
By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land.
So when you read this Genesis chapter 10, you learn here that according to this, these were the isles of the Gentiles, the son of Japheth. They are the Gentiles. So when people say, well, I'm not a Gentile, I'm a Jew, well, really they speaking out of ignorance because the Gentile are the sons of Japheth. But let's watch. Go ahead. Keep reading.
Everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nation.
So it said here, by these are the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone according to their tongue. This is the first place where we really see like tongues. Now right here, it doesn't put you in the mindset that we speaking in tongue as we have been taught in Sunday church. Matter of fact, let's look at a definition. We're gonna look at the definition of tongue. But I want you to see that even the theologians, even if we was to go get a regular dictionary, because I'm looking at the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. That's what we're gonna use to get this definition from. But we're just going to look up the word tongue. 1 second here. All right, tongue. And this is on page 589. It says an organ of the body used by Gideon's men to drink. So, of course, there's a story in the Bible when the men had to go down and they used their tongue to drink the water. Definition 2, an organ of speech. Definition 3, a language or dialect. That's what tongue is. Number 4, a people or a race having a common language. So we see even out of Bible dictionary, it's showing us that this tongue that we're talking about is a language. So when we go back to the Bible in Genesis chapter 10, at verse 5, it said, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his language or after his tongue. Let's skip down to verse 7. Let's go ahead to verse 6. Go ahead.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
Right.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sapta, and Ramah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan.
Go ahead.
And Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth.
So everybody done heard of Nimrod. Nimrod come from Ham. These are your African nations. Now, understand something. The Gentile, them your white nations, your European, your Asians. And the sons of Ham are your African nations. But there are other nations that exist. Just want you to know that. And all the sons of Ham are people of color. But let's reflip this statement. All people of color are not the sons of Ham. Now, all the sons of Ham are people of color. And you can find, I think one of them was Mizraim, that's the Egyptians, and I think you got Phut, maybe the Ethiopians, or, I'm not sure. I can find it for you and pinpoint it directly, but these are your Hamite or your African nations. But go ahead, verse 9.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
Go ahead.
Out of that land went forth Asher, and builded Nineveh, in the city Rehoboth.
All right, skip down to verse 20.
These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
So when he divided, now he took Japheth and he put him somewhere according to their tongue. Now this all happened at the Tower of Babel when these divisions was made. So it didn't happen with Ham, Japheth, and Shem. They still spoke one language. But we see as we read when he decided to divide these languages. That's why when we was reading about Nimrod, it said that he was down in the land of Shinar. But if you go over to chapter 11, you see the land of Shinar. And this is where the Tower of Babel was. So that was around Nimrod's time period. And the Bible is proving that. And of course history does as well. But let's skip down to verse 21.
Unto Shem also.
So now we got the third son of Noah, Shem. Go ahead.
The father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher.
No, I ain't gonna do you like that. We're not gonna read all the children of Shem, but I will tell you this: your Arab nations, your so-called Jews or the Edomites, they come from Shem, and of course the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And you read Deuteronomy 28. You find out that the children of Shem under Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the children of Israel, they was taken out into slavery. And that's us. That's us colored people in America and in Jamaica and even in Britain. And, you know, all of us colored people who ain't got no land. You know, the ones who be claiming just the country they live in, like, you know, Afro-American. I still ain't figured out how you can just be two countries. You know, that's like me saying I'm a Michigan Detroiter or a Michigan Georgian or something. You know, that don't make sense either. So at any rate, we ain't no African Americans, we Israelites. So at any rate, it said now the sons of Shem after their families, after their tongues. So again, this is the first time we start seeing tongues in the Bible. And what we done did so far, besides defining what the tongue is, which is a language, we done showed you that at one point everybody had one tongue, but now they got different tongues. And this is relevant to our subject. Let's go over to Psalms 147. Because now we know that God, like we read the Tower of Babel and he divided the tongues. And well, what we didn't really state is that God still had his word that needed to be preached to all the world. Okay? So he going to choose a nation from those three nations, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, and he going to deal with this particular people. Let's go to Psalms 147 and read verse 18 through 20.
He sendeth out his word and melteth them. He caused his wind to blow, and waters flow. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment to Israel. He have not done so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
All right, so now what we finding out here is, look, he didn't show his word unto Jacob, his statutes and judgment. He didn't give his word to no other nation. Now, when we start talking about word, it come in a tongue. I mean, that's just what, like, he can't just give them the word on a blank piece of paper and be like, here, it got to be in some type of dialect. But we just saw that all these nations got divided.